What's going on, guys? It's New York Prepper here. I just wanted to do a video about the human threats after SHTF. So what are the reasons why we prepare? We prepare to protect ourselves from certain threats that may occur, whether it's a human threat, whether it's a natural disaster threat, whether it's some type of other physical threat, a nuclear attack, a terrorist attack, whether it's a cyber threat, some type of compromise of our privacy or compromise of our cyber grid. Those are all threats that we face as preppers. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what are the human threats after SHTF. So a lot of people are familiar with, natural disasters, terrorism, volcanoes, all that stuff. But in this video, I want to talk about the human threats, and I want to list the different types of people that are going to be a threat to you and your group after SHTF, or you and your family. So I made a list here, and this list is in no particular order. These are just a group of groups of people that I kind of lumped into different categories that I feel are going to be threats after SHTF. So I'm just going to randomly start listing them out and explaining them to you guys. And like I said, it's no particular order. It's not that one threat is worse than the other or more likely to happen. This is just a listing of the different human threats that we may face. And it's up to you guys to decide what you think the probability of these threats are and what the impacts are going to be, which goes into your security risk assessment. And from there, you can determine what the general risks are with these different groups. So the first group is going to be marauders. Marauders are basically just criminals who will band together and will use SHTF to loot, pillage, murder, rape, enslave, etc. So I've done a lot of videos on marauders. If you don't know what marauders are, you can go and pause this video and then look back at some of my previous videos, and you can familiarize yourself with what a marauder is. I've done definitions on it. I did a whole lengthy video where I explained what exactly a marauder is. And there's tons of information out there on the internet about marauders, so the first category of humans are going to be marauders that are going to pose a threat to you. And like I said, marauders are going to be groups of people, bad guys that band together, and they're going to create like armed militias that are going to basically go door to door, and they're going to go and take your supplies. They're going to, rape people. They're going to murder. They're going to take human slaves or human traffic. All kinds of nasty stuff. That's what marauders are going to do. The best thing I can think of in marauders, if you watch The Walking Dead, then Negan and his group were basically marauders, in my opinion. So if you're new to prepping but you watch The Walking Dead, then the best example of a marauder would be Negan and his group in The Walking Dead. So moving on from marauders is going to be another heavily discussed topic in prepping, which is desperate and hungry people. So desperate and hungry people are going to be like the majority of Americans, because most Americans are not prepared for a short-term disaster, so let alone like a long-term grid down situation. So I would say, just by estimating, at least 60 to 70% of Americans today are probably not prepared to survive 2 to 3 weeks or more without grocery stores and without electricity. Most people don't have more than a week's worth of food in their house, and most people don't have farms or land that they're growing food on a regular basis, that they can just go to that property and harvest food off of that property, whether it's livestock or whether it's vegetables, fruits, whatever. Most of our society lives in urban areas or suburban areas where there's either not enough land to build a farm or have enough land for, chickens or goats, things like that, or it may just be against the local town codes, and the towns don't want people to have farms, So there's going to be a lot of desperate and hungry people. Once the SHTF hits, there's going to be all those people that live in the cities, that live in the suburbs. Now, I'm not saying everybody that lives in the city and suburbs are going to turn into like, desperate, hungry, people that are going to start going around and stealing from you. But I think a large majority of people will become marauders. A lot of law-abiding citizens that right now, go to work every day, obey the law for the most part, besides maybe speeding or something. A lot of those people are going to turn into marauders because they're going to be desperate and they're going to be hungry. These are people that have no or very minimal preparations in place. They probably don't have any food stored up because they feel that, SHTF will never happen and there's just no point. These are people who reject self-sufficiency, and they reject, the rugged lifestyle of, hunting, cutting your own wood for heat, fishing, things like that, working with your hands, doing things with your hands. A lot of these people are office workers. Nothing against office workers. I actually work in an office myself, but before I worked in an office, I did a lot of, manual labor jobs. I sold firewood. I had a small construction company. I grew up hunting, fishing, spending time outdoors, so I can take care of myself and my family and other people around me. If the power goes out, I'm not reliant on the local grocery store to feed me. I can provide food for myself and for my family. I can hunt it down, or I can fish it. I can gather, I can do a lot of things. I have survival skills. I have useful skills. After SHTF, all these people that work in offices and they never did anything else in their life, they're not going to have any useful skills for SHTF. I hate to say it, but unless you're like a doctor or an engineer, but a lot of different jobs like accountants or financial people, those skills are pretty much useless in SHTF, post SHTF world. You're not going to be doing any trading of stocks. You're not going to be doing any accounting statements for people. Whatever the job is, technology jobs, things like that. So a lot of those people with those office type jobs that don't really know anything else outside of their urban lifestyle and their suburban lifestyle, and they've never gone hunting, they've never, had to go into the woods in a cold weather environment and build a shelter and build a fire, and spend time, regular exercise. Most Americans are in bad shape, so all these people, it builds the right ingredients for a lot of desperate and hungry people. So all those different factors are going to play into people turning into desperation. They're going to turn to desperation, and they're going to be hungry because they don't have any useful skills. They weren't raised to have useful skills. Their schools didn't teach them anything about, how to actually do something useful besides, figuring out some obscure calculations that you never use outside of an office environment. Their parents probably never taught them how to, live off the land and how to spend time in the woods, things like that. Any kind of useful skills, building, construction, things like that. So all those people may become desperate and they're going to be hungry. And it's not just people in the cities, it's also people in rural areas too, I'm not just trying to say that city people are all, bad and they all have no skills and stuff like that, but there are majority of people that live in cities generally do not have those kinds of skills that you would need in a SHTF environment, because when you live in a city, you don't really need to have skills like that, because you live in an apartment or a townhouse or a condo. You're not going to be doing any kind of, first of all, you're not going to have a wood stove. There's nowhere to go hunting. There's nowhere to go fishing. There's no place for you to go and learn and practice these skills. You have to spend the whole weekend driving away somewhere, staying at a hotel. So people that live in urban areas, they don't have a need for those skills. They don't need to know how to split wood. They don't need to know how to, fix their own, roof if it's leaking. They have somebody to do it for them. So So as a result, they don't develop those skills that people in rural areas develop. And that's going to cause people to become desperate, and they're going to be hungry, and they're going to be looking for food. So anybody who's not prepared, they're going to be coming after your food. They're going to be coming after your water. They're going to come after guns. They may come after your shelter. So if, let's say, you have a really nice house or a nice bug out location or a nice bug in location, and it's bad weather and it's dangerous outside, people that are unprepared, they're going to go to you and they're going to try to take excuse me, they're going to try to take that piece of land from you. They're going to try to take that piece of shelter that you have, that house, that bug out location, especially if the weather is bad, if it's a hurricane or it's cold outside, there's some kind of blizzard. They're going to try to take your shelter from you, because shelter is critical, and it's human nature for us to want to stay in a nice, comfortable, sheltered area. That's why everybody wants to have a big house with a nice mansion, with big rooms and things like that. That's human nature. Nobody wants to be crowded into a studio apartment. Some people do, but in general, it's human nature to want to have shelter and to have a nice big warm environment to sleep in and to live in. And so post SHTF, if you have a really good shelter area, there may be people that try to take that from you. So make sure you're ready to handle those kinds of situations. And then obviously food, water, guns. If somebody down the street, your neighbor, he may find out that you're a gun owner, and he may know that you have, a lot of weapons in your house. He's talked to you. He knows that you're into guns. He may try to come to your house, and he may try to, when you're sleeping or when you're away, he may try to break in and steal your guns from you. So make sure you lock them up, especially in an SHTF situation. You want to protect your investments. You don't want somebody to just come in and take everything. And then you have your transportation. Now, people could also try to steal your transportation, especially if you're in a bug out situation or in a get home situation or an evacuation. If, let's say, you're evacuating from a city or a crowded area, an urbanized area, there's going to be millions of other people that want to get out too. And if you're in a car and everybody's walking, you better believe that somebody's going to try to take that car from you. They're going to try to, do whatever it takes for them to take that car, because in their mind, they're trying to preserve their life and their family's life. So, you better be ready to protect your transportation. It doesn't have to just be in a city. It could be in a rural area too. If you're escaping from a rural area and there's a lot of people fleeing the area, and you have a good method of transportation and other people don't, they're going to try to take that from you, whether it's a car, whether it's a boat. So be prepared for that. So we have marauders and desperate and hungry people. The next one is going to be assorted psychopaths. So your assorted psychopaths are going to be rapists, murderers, pedophiles. Those types of people, those criminal elements, they're going to use the lack of law and order to act out any kind of fantasies that they have, because they know that they're going to be fully unchecked. So that's another group of people that you're going to have to worry about too. You never know who you're going to be dealing with in a SHTF situation. You don't know if this friendly guy or friendly lady that you're talking to is not really a sicko and some type of a rapist or murderer or cannibal or pedophile or whatever. So you have to really treat everybody with, you have to have a certain measure of discernment. You can't just trust everybody you meet. And, you better be ready to handle a situation where you have a psychopathic person, coming after you or your family. So the next one is going to be, so we covered assorted psychopaths. Now we're going to go into something that a lot of people probably haven't thought about. I think a lot of people have already thought about marauders and desperate, hungry people and assorted psychopaths. But I don't think a lot of people have thought about hitmen and other people that are going to try to get revenge on you. So think about it this way, okay? The grid is going to go down and there's an SHTF situation. there's not going to be rule of law. There's the power's going to be out maybe. There may be people that are going to try to get revenge on you, or they may even hire a hitman to take you out, depending on what your level of importance is in the world. If you're the manager of a company, or if you're an owner of a business, especially a larger business, you may have pissed people off inadvertently. And there may be people that try to get revenge on you. And just think about the TV show The Purge, or the movie The Purge. During The Purge, there's a whole business. If you ever watch those movies, there's a whole business that spurs up because of the purge, and that's the hitman business. And basically what people do is they put hits out on other people, and then there's like an app, kind of like Uber. It's almost like an Uber app. You put the person that you want to have taken out for you, and then somebody will take that name, and then they'll try to take that person out, and then they get a payment for it. So we may have things like that happening. There may even be some type. That's an extreme case. Obviously, that's more, like further out. Going more into like the fictional realm. But something more realistic is somebody trying to get revenge on you in some way, and it may not necessarily be to kill you, but it could be to, let's say, sabotage your property, vandalize, burn down your house, burn your vehicles. Some type of vandalism. These are people that probably know who you are. They could be friends of yours. They could be people that you went to school with, people that you worked with, anybody who knows where you live and knows who you are. They may try to get revenge on you for whatever reason. You may have, in their mind, you may have slighted this person, or, made this person upset. And now they know that the power is out and there's no rule of law. And they may take that as a sign to basically, as an opportunity for them to get revenge on you finally. So that's something to also consider, is people that may try to get revenge on you. And like I said, they may not necessarily try to kill you, but they may try to, cause some kind of vandalism, or destroy your property, whatever. Could be a neighbor of yours too. If, let's say, you have a neighbor, and your neighbor, you don't have good relations with them during rule of law. Let's say you guys got into a disagreement about, property lines, or, some other type of disagreement. Let's say they always play, they don't like the fact that you play loud music, or that you have too many people over. They may use that as a way to, as an opportunity to get revenge on you for what they feel is injustice, and they're going to use that to get revenge. So hitmen and people getting revenge is number 4 on the list. The next one is going to be organized crime and gangs. So I've done a video on this already, but organized crime and gangs, you're going to have drug dealers and gangs are going to use SHTF as an opportunity to expand territory, or to go to war with their rivals, and you may get caught in the middle of this. So just be aware of any local drug dealers, or areas in your neighborhood where there are a lot of drug dealers, and any kind of, organized crime, and try to, stay away from those areas as much as possible. If you live in an area with drug dealers around, you may want to try to, escape and bug out somewhere, because in my opinion, if there's a long-term SHTF, a lot of drug dealers and a lot of gang members and organized crimes, your mafias, your biker clubs, all your street drugs and stuff, your drug dealers, they're going to be going to war over turf and revenge. And, the last place you want to be is on the same block or on the same road as a drug dealer or some kind of gang member. And, when the other rival gang or the rival drug dealer comes through the area and starts spraying the neighborhood with bullets, you definitely don't want to be in that area. So that's something else to consider. The next one is going to be assorted looters and low-level street criminals. So, you're going to have your looters and your lower-level street criminals, which are going to be like, people that are going to just want to look to steal stuff. They're not really looking to murder. They're not looking to rape or, any other kind of really sick, twisted kind of things that some of the psychopaths would be looking to do. These are just your lower level, burglars, maybe somebody who's addicted to, some kind of drugs, and they may try to break into your house and look to see if you have any painkillers or any, medicines that you may have. But your lower level street criminals, most of them are going to be looking just to steal stuff, anything expensive that they can take that they can later sell or, use or whatever. The next one is going to be drug addicts. Drug addicts are going to be driven by their addiction in order to obtain more drugs, because the drugs are physically addicting, especially the stronger drugs. They affect the hormone levels in the body, the feel-good chemicals that make you feel happy. Their body is altered, and it's not normal like a normal person, so they need the drug in order to feel happy. If they don't have the drug, then they're going to get withdrawal symptoms, and they're going to start getting sick and depressed. So they're going to do whatever it takes for them to obtain that drug. And if that means, breaking into your house and raiding your medicine cabinet, or, breaking into a hospital or a medical clinic, they're going to do it. A veterinarian clinic even. Drug addicts will pretty much break in anywhere and try to find, some type of a drug that can give them their high. So that's another type of person that's going to be a threat to you. And obviously, if, let's say, one of these drug addicts comes into your house, they may be armed. They may hold a gun to your head, or your family, someone in your family, your child, your wife. They may hold a gun to their head and say, "Give me all your medicine. Give me all your. I want to see all your medicine," and stuff like that. So, you can't underestimate the drug addicts. Just because they're high and stuff all the time doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. They're still smart enough to be able to obtain drugs and do all that stuff. So they're not stupid, and they can still be dangerous if they have weapons. So we covered marauders, desperate and hungry people, assorted psychopaths, hitmen, and people looking to get revenge on you, organized crime and gangs, assorted looters and low-level street criminals, drug addicts, and now we're going to cover hate groups. So hate groups, this one should be pretty obvious, but hate groups are going to probably seize the opportunity, because there's going to be no rule of law. There's not going to be a high police presence. The hate groups are going to be, looking to attack people based on their race, their ethnicity, their nationality, their socioeconomic status. There's so many different hate groups in this country. White supremacists, Black Panthers. You have so many different kinds of hate groups. You have communists, you have anarchists, you have right-wing extremists. You have environmental extremists. There's a lot of hate groups that are very dangerous. And once the grid goes down and there's no rule of law, in my opinion, these hate groups are going to try to go after people. Depending on your race, your ethnic origin, your religious beliefs, your economic status, what tier of society you're in, they may try to just target you and take you out and kill you because they hate you. They're just hateful people. There's anti-Semites, there's anti-Christians, there's all kinds of different hate groups out there. So that's another group of people that are going to be a threat. Then we're going to go into rioters and angry mobs. So rioters and angry mobs, this should be pretty clear, but after SHTF, there's going to potentially be riots, there's going to be angry mobs, there's going to be people that are going to try to blame the government for the SHTF situation, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion, but there may be some really angry mobs whether they're blaming the government for that or for something else. You know, there could be different types of angry mobs and riots that are going to go on during SHTF or after SHTF. Their motivations are going to be different depending on, you know, whatever the group's motivations are. There's always a difference, you know, in their motivation. You know, the best example of like a rioter, riot group or an angry mob would be like, you know, in Baltimore, they had the riots, you know, after there was a police shooting, and they just spurred up overnight. There was people in the streets, you know, breaking down windows into stores, you know, setting cars on fire, things like that. So you don't want to get caught up. They were also blocking roads too. People were trying to drive through, you know, on highways, and they were standing in the way so that you couldn't drive through a highway. So angry mobs, you know, angry people are going to be looking to take out their anger on the people that they feel have caused the SHTF, or people that they feel are the cause of some type of injustice. And they may target you based on your race, your economic status, or for just being a bystander. If you're in the area and there's an angry mob, you know, angry people, they're just going to be looking to take that anger out. So if you're in that area, they're going to take it out on you and whoever's with you. You can guarantee that. And same thing if there's some type of injustice that they feel is going on. You know, for example, in Baltimore, where they felt that the police were, you know, being brutal, police brutality. You know, in that case, they were rioting because they felt that there was an injustice, that the police were being, you know, brutal to their people and their race, or, you know. So you may be a target of those angry mobs. You know, if they feel that you're the cause, or your economic status, your religion, your, you know, nationality, if they feel that those things are the cause of some type of injustice to them, you better believe they're going to target you, and they're going to target your neighborhood. They're going to target your house. You know, they're going to attack you on the street. So rioters and angry mobs, you're going to want to steer clear of them, and stay far away from any kind of civil disturbances. You know, you don't want to be in an area like that, because once, you know, angry mobs, there's something called the group think, or the mob mentality. And that's the mob mentality. If you don't understand basic psychology, what that means is that when you have a group of people are more likely to do dangerous and violent things than each of those people in the group would do individually. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, a lot of it could be peer pressure, and a lot of it is also that they feel safer in a big group, because they feel that it's going to be hard for somebody to actually blame them specifically, because, you know, multiple people were involved. So they feel that it's going to be hard for law enforcement to track them down and decipher who actually committed the crime. So they feel safer committing crimes in groups. But also the peer pressure of it too. Their friends may be committing a crime, and they may want to look, you know, good in front of their friends. So the mob mentality can be really dangerous. And, you know, human beings have shown that in large groups they can be very, very destructive and very violent. And it's also human nature to feel stronger and feel more powerful when you're amongst a group of people, because you know that they're going to be backing you up and you're not on your own. So you're going to feel, you know, people in mobs, you know, any kind of angry mob, they're going to feel more empowered to do more dangerous things than they otherwise would if they were just on their own. So that's something to think about with the angry mobs. And the next one is going to be friends and family, which a lot of people probably don't even think about. But friends and family could be looking to take your resources if they know that you're a prepper. So there may be certain people that are friends with you, or family members that, you know, you don't know who these people, they may be your best friend, they may be your mother, your father, you know, your brother, your sister, your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, your cousin, your uncle, your aunt, you know, your close friend from childhood, you know, from elementary school, your friends from elementary school. You know, all these people, you may think that they're your best friend, or you may think that they're, your tight family members that will never betray you, but you'll be surprised when somebody's hungry, when somebody's desperate. They'll do pretty much anything to get food and to get shelter, to get water, and to get ahead, So you really can't trust anybody unless they're your immediate family, like your children and your wife, things like that. But your spouse, your family members, you have to really be careful with them too. Just because you don't know, especially if they know that you're a prepper, they're going to try to come to your house. If you have close friends of yours and they know where your preps are, you've showed them where your guns are, they've been into your house many times or your bug out location. They know that you're a prepper. They know where your supplies are. They know what they know your habits. They know your skills. They're going to be the ones that are most dangerous, because then they're going to know how to bypass all your security measures, because they know where everything is. They know how you operate. They know your habits, what time of day you're busy, things like that. And they're going to try to maybe steal your supplies or something like that. So, friends and family are oftentimes could potentially be dangerous, or in the very least, they're going to try to take your resources potentially, especially if they don't have good character and they're not trustworthy people and they don't care and they're just looking to get ahead, and they feel that, they're more important than you are. So they're going to justify in their head that they're going to take your resources. So be very wary of friends and family, and pre-SHTF, don't disclose everything to everybody. Don't tell people how much food you have stored up. Don't tell people what your plans are going to be, where you're going to go, what your bug out plan is. Don't tell people, even your parents, close family, don't tell them unless they really need to know and they're part of the plan. Even if they're part of the plan, you're going to have to watch them closely, because people will do desperate things when they're hungry and they're cold and they're scared. People will do desperate things, and they'll turn on their own blood and they'll turn on their own friends. So you're going to have to keep an eye on your family and your friends, and so they could potentially turn into a threat. So, but pre-SHTF, keep your mouth shut. Don't brag to people that you're a prepper. Don't show all your friends, all your supplies and everything like that. Don't tell all your family members, specifics. It's okay to tell people you're a prepper if you want to, but don't tell them how much food you have. Don't tell them that you have 20 rifles and that you have 6 months worth of food and that you have a bug out location in Montana or something, because they're going to pretty much, have all the intel that they need in order to, get all the resources from you. So keep your mouth shut, and be aware of your friends and family too. And we're wrapping it up here with this video. We got next on the list is going to be foreign troops and saboteurs. So foreign troops and saboteurs, there's two types. There's covert and there's overt. Now overt would be like, your foreign invaders, like in Red Dawn, who will probably try to take advantage of the SHTF situation. They're going to take advantage of the fact that the country is weak and that the power is out, that the economy is weak, and they're going to try to take advantage, and they're going to land on our shores. They're going to land via air or sea routes. Typically they may land on coastal areas with transport ships. They're going to have troops and equipment that they're going to land onto the east or west coast or from the Gulf or something, and they may land on the shore, and they may kind of like D-Day, some type of D-Day style invasion, but a lot bigger, obviously. So that would be an overt foreign troop or saboteur. And then the covert foreign troops would be covert foreign invaders, which can be summoned to carry out acts of violence on Americans or on our infrastructure. So the best example would be like a sleeper cell, let's say Russia or some type of terrorist group, some type of jihadists, like ISIS or one of these other Islamic jihadi groups. they may have saboteurs in our country. In fact, they probably already do. Same thing with Russia and China. They probably have sleeper cells. And when SHTF hits, they may have plans, and they're gonna activate those plans. And those plans could be a variety of things. It could mean targeting our infrastructure. Let's say one of these jihadi groups or one of these Russian sleeper agents, they, let's say, have orders to, take out all of our transformers. They may have orders to take out large transmission lines, and all these things can be done without, explosives. They can, you can pretty much, we've seen before the Oklahoma City bombing, what somebody can do with a truck full of, conventional materials that you can find at a home improvement store. Even just cans of gasoline. They could fill up a U-Haul truck with gasoline and drive it into a transformer or some type of power generation facility, and they can wipe out our ability to make power for a whole part of the country. They can take out bridges. They can do a lot of things. They can target, critical infrastructure. Another one that kind of concerns me too is not so much the infrastructure, but also, going after American citizens. And this is something I think that especially like jihadists could potentially do. They may, let's say there's an SHTF situation. They know that the rule of law is down. There's no police. The grid is down. They may summon some type of jihadi sleeper cells to go door to door in suburban areas or in very heavily populated areas and just start, shooting and killing, large amounts of disarmed people. Because, most people in suburban and urban areas, they have very tough gun laws, and they're not going to be very well armed. So the jihadis are going to go after them. They're not going to go to like a rural area where you have one person every quarter of a mile, and there's fields and woods in between. They're going to go after the area that makes the biggest impact with the least resistance. And urban areas, suburban areas, for them it's just like it's like low hanging fruit. It's like the people there would basically be sitting ducks because a lot of them are not armed, and the local governments don't allow them to be armed. Most big cities don't have good gun laws. They don't allow people to own firearms. So chances are, if one of these jihadis starts going through like a city neighborhood or going through a suburban area and they start shooting at different people in the houses, a lot of those people may not be armed, and they're not going to be able to stop them. So they're going to do a lot of damage. So that's something else to think about. The next one is going to be infiltrators from other survival groups or other marauder groups. So these infiltrators are going to be basically people that are from another survival group or another prepper group, and they may be, for whatever reason, that group may want to take your group's supplies. They may want to overtake your territory that you're controlling. Let's say if it's like a specific neighborhood that you live in, and you and your neighbors band together and you form like a survival group. There may be neighbors down the street who may have ran out of food, and they may have ran out of resources, and they may want to go to your neighborhood and overtake your neighborhood. That's probably not likely, but I would say especially like nomadic survival groups are probably the most dangerous, because that's what nomads do. They jump from one area to another, kind of like marauders. But these infiltrators, they could either be from nomadic marauder groups, or they could be from other survivors. And what the infiltrators will do is they're going to try to join your group, and they're going to try to act like they need help, or they're going to say that they have useful skills. They very well may have useful skills. They could be doctors, they could be nurses, they could be gunsmiths, mechanics, things like that. People with useful skills that are going to be useful in a post-SHTF world. And these people may very well be smart, educated, experienced, nice people, but they're actually going to be infiltrators. They're going to be spies. And these spies are going to gather intel on you and your group, and they're going to report that intel back to another survival group or to a group of marauders. And at that point, it could be a variety of reasons that they're gathering intel. That could be for stealing your resources, or it could be some type of an attack. The reason for the attack could be to gain control of all your resources, to enslave your people and put your people into forced labor. It could be something totally different. It could be even just hatred. So you want to make sure that anybody that joins your group, you want to make sure that you thoroughly vet them, and you don't give them the keys to the kingdom, until you know that they're trusted. And even after they've been there a while, you still want to be very vigilant around them. And, you don't want to tell these people that are new to your group, where everything is. You don't want to show them where all the weapons are, where all the food stores are, what your security details are like, what your security plans are like. You don't want to disclose that information to these people, because then that's just going to open you up to an attack. So, keep your security plans, secret, and keep your food storage secret, keep your gun storage secret, all those things. So this way a spy or an infiltrator can't gather intel on you and report it back to another group. Here, and then we have the federal government or the military. And in this situation, they could try to use SHTF to take away freedoms under martial law, which we've seen many times. This could mean door-to-door gun or resource confiscation. They may confiscate resources from more prepared or fortunate people and redistribute those resources to less fortunate people. They could also lie to citizens for quarantining purposes. So this is pretty self-explanatory. The government may come in and they may take resources away from people that are more well off. Either if you're a prepper or if you're wealthy and you have better resources, they may try to go in and take those resources from you and redistribute it to the rest of the population who are not as well off or who aren't prepared. They may also try to take your rights away. They may institute curfews. They may try to confiscate guns. And if we really go down, down the rabbit hole, they could try to round you up into FEMA camps or, some type of forced labor camps, which is, a possibility. You never know. I mean, you can't rule anything out. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but, it's happened in the past, and history repeats itself. So, you definitely don't want to be taken into a FEMA camp or a forced labor camp. So that's another one. And then finally would be the local government and local law enforcement. They could use SHTF to gain power under states of emergencies and justify taking your civil liberties away for the reasons of quote-unquote public safety. They may revoke gun permits and force gun owners to surrender firearms or face felony charges. They could also try to confiscate resources away from preppers and more fortunate people, and then either use it for themselves, the government officials, or they may try to redistribute it to less fortunate people in the community. So that's the final one to think about. So it's a pretty long video. So I'll just do a quick summary of the list that I made. So it's marauders, desperate and hungry people, assorted psychopaths, hitmen and people looking to get revenge, organized crime and gangs, drug addicts, assorted looters and low-level street criminals, hate groups, rioters and angry mobs, friends and family, foreign troops and saboteurs, and there's two types of those, covert and overt. And then we have infiltrators or spies from other survival groups or marauder groups, federal government and military, and then finally local government and local law enforcement. So I know this was a long video. I'm going to wrap it up now, but I hope you guys learned something from it, and I hope you watched the whole video. And, feel free to rewind and, go over certain sections that you may have missed or you want to rewatch. to better digest the information. There's a lot of information that I threw at you guys tonight, but I hope that you learned something. And thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for commenting, and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and press the thumbs up button if you liked my video, and leave me any feedback if you want me to do certain types of videos in the future. Let me know. I'm always open to that. Tell me what videos you like and which ones you don't like, and what topics interest you. So that's pretty much it, guys. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you soon.